banking bill deals with a small part of this, but not what needs to be done. We need a broad, comprehensive bill.
Can I just say something on that?
Go ahead.
I'm telling you right now, if somebody tries in the Senate to do just a banking bill, they're going to make all the wealth and the money that is going after this already is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But what could become a even bigger industry, to just do it so some people can get rich and not do something about the people who are languishing with criminal convictions, not do something on restorative justice, not do something to make sure that the business opportunities are created are fairly given a fair playing field, where right now in many states, someone who has a criminal conviction for selling marijuana can't get a license now. I don't know about other members of the Senate, but I will lay myself down to do everything I can to stop an easy banking bill that's going to allow all these corporations to make a lot more money off of this, as opposed to focusing on the restorative justice aspects.
And we're back. Welcome back to the final segment of this Friday's The Green Rush Show with Jimmy Young and me, David Rabinovitz. We've got another great cast of characters. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, and we think one more may be joining us. But Tom, let's start with you.
Hey, I'm Tom Schneider, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Revolutionary Clinics and Rev Brands.
Seth, who are you?
My name's Seth Worby, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Cannabis Creative Group. And we do marketing and digital solutions for the cannabis space.
Absolutely. And both you guys do great work, and I so appreciate you coming on. So in Massachusetts this week, a local dispensary made national news by putting up a billboard that had the likeness of Borat, the character played by Sacha Baron Cohen. His legal team has now sued Solar Therapeutics for using the likeness of that actor without permission. Tom, you've had experience putting billboards up all over Massachusetts when you in the area of dominant influence of Rev Clinics dispensaries, the footprint, if you will. How effective is a billboard as a marketing tool in the cannabis space?
Well, a billboard is going to put you on the map. Okay. I mean, right now there's a lot of billboards. I'm glad we had our billboard up when we did, because we were the only billboard up. There might have been one in Western Mass or Southern Mass somewhere, but basically we were the only billboard up in the general Boston area. You know, one thing about billboards that it is the it's the ultimate awareness tool. It's the opposite of direct response. So you don't put up a billboard that's costing you 15 grand a month, and you can't expect to get a return on that investment right away. It's really kind of like Budweiser ads that you see over and over and over again. Eventually you might go and buy a Budweiser, but when you see the ad, you don't get off the couch and run to the liquor store and buy Budweiser. So it is really all about awareness. When we did our billboard, we needed awareness. We were Revolutionary Clinics, 3 at the time. I think it was 2 medical dispensaries, and it really put us on the map. I mean, we had 6 million people a month were seeing that billboard, stuck in traffic on Route 93. Granted, only 1 out of 100 of those people in those cars could actually shop at our store. That was probably the most painful part of it, but it put us on the map to the tune where there are a lot of people out there that call us big marijuana. And in fact, we aren't big marijuana. We're 3 medical shops and a grow facility. So it does put you on the map. There's no doubt. Today's environment, a little tougher because, every 10th billboard is a cannabis billboard. So you do get lost a little bit in the noise right now.
Right. In the weeds. You get lost in the weeds. I get it.
Yeah, you get lost
Seth,
in the weeds.
Seth's been on In the Weeds way back when. Seth, as someone who's, the head of an agency, is it just another marketing tool? Does it make more sense for a dispensary near a highway? How do you look at the billboard as a marketing tool in cannabis?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tom hit the nail on the head. It's all about impressions, just like anything else. Marketing is, in essence, a game of numbers. The creativity and the calls to action are important. If you have 100 visitors going somewhere and a 1% conversion rate, if you can go to 200 visitors and a 2% conversion rate, you've gone from 1 to 4 customers. So, the more people you have driving by your sign, the better visibility. Obviously, some of the pitfalls are bad visibility. It's not up for very long, things like that. But Tom hit the nail on the head with the reinforcement, especially locally. It's local reinforcement. If you're investing into digital marketing and people haven't made quite a full decision, but they're doing their research, seeing that and being reinforced almost daily, if it's on their route to work or route to school or wherever, will enhance that decision 10 plus fold, if not more. So you do see a residual effect from it. But at the end of the day, unless you have a specific call to action, which is real hard because you want to keep it simple and subtle. We've got cannabis, come on in. That's about it.
Right. Now, you both know the regulations in cannabis are very strict about where a dispensary can, talk to people or market their products or services. And one of the things that I know is part of that compliance is any message, you have to make sure that it is an over 21 audience. Now, how in the world did you guys at Rev Clinics prove that it was an over 21% watching that billboard as they drove by? You said something like 6 million people drive by at 93. How do you prove that they're all over 21?
Well, I stood there on Route 93 and I stopped every car that went by and I interviewed everybody. I made everybody show me their license. And, in the end, it worked out. No.
Yeah.
So, in any advertising world, whether it's press, print or radio or outdoor, they have audited demographics. Now, don't ask me what the basis of the audit is, but I'm sure it's real. I mean, it has to be real. The great thing about working with somebody like Clear Channel or some of these other folks that have the Billboard properties, they can't afford to mess this up, or they get the major fine as well. They take a liability along with us. So if they tell us that the audited statistics on Route 93 is 88% 21 plus, I got to go with it. And that's the only way to do it. And believe me, I got a phone call since we were the first billboard. I got a phone call from the CCC. And they were like, okay, it was our inspector. And he was kind of, grilled me as he is paid to do. And I had to go and find those audited statistics, which I fortunately had seen before he asked me. So I felt pretty confident that I had them and could get them again. And I sent him the audited stats and, they checked out. It wasn't a lot. It was literally like a couple of percentage points over the 85%. But if you think about it, not that I've ever stood on the highway and interviewed everybody that went by, but if you think about it, when you look at the people driving down 93, it's mostly one person in a car. So they're driving and they're adults going places, they're going to work or they're going out and there are kids, but most kids are at home playing in the yard. They're not in their mom and dad's car going down 93. I guess 15 or maybe call it 12 or 13% of them are, but it's an adult world out there. We also did the audit statistics on the tea because at one point we thought we were going to advertise on the tea, only to find out the MBTA wouldn't take our advertising. But wow, it's like 97% adult on the tea, which I would not have guessed. Figured that there'd be a lot of kids in the tea, but it's mostly adults going to work.
Seth, as someone who has to recommend media plans to dispensaries or any of your clients, are you using that same research and what is your feeling about that the audience is over 21?
Yeah, I mean, again, following Tom's fairly easy. We've worked together in the past, so I hear what he's saying and believe in the same stuff. I mean, anytime we've done a billboard, whether it's outside the cannabis space or within the cannabis space, you have to follow Clear Channel or whatever the company is, the big company that technically owns that land and or that space that you're renting from. In essence, they're your landlord for that space. So they're not going to take that risk and risk their stream of revenue. So for the most part, you need to go by those statistics, but it tends to be the urban areas, the highways that are okay. So as you move into Boston, you'll see them in, there's in downtown Allston, Brighton area, you're starting to see a bunch of billboards out near Somerville and Charlestown and around the river where most of the audience to be able to afford to live there is post-college age and above 21. So I mean, where I am in the city, you're starting to see a good pop of them. Now, outside of Massachusetts is a whole nother ballgame, and it's different in every state. Obviously, when you land in a place like Las Vegas, it just punches you in the face versus what you see in Boston, which is still, from my perspective, nice to see because it helps the destigmatization and everything works together. And there's also people out there that don't realize it's right in their town. And as they drive by that every day and they see that, hey, next exit, recreational cannabis sign, really simple and subtle, when that Friday night comes around that they do want to try that or move away from their norm and not go out to the bar, whatever it might be, again, to Tom's point, it's reinforced constantly and that ends up working.
So print versus video versus audio. What media do you think, Seth, actually delivers the most impactful message, even now that the consumer is in charge of their use of media, when they want it, how they want it, wherever they want to get it? What's the most powerful tool?
I'm going to say digital because that's my world. And even though I got a team of creative people doing branding and packaging and we're out there, I've always been personally, I'm the computer guy and an analytics guy that likes to generate traffic, but then I have the creative staff to do the conversion side of it. With that in mind, it's content strategy and having a strategy that is a pyramid in sense from the top down. So as you create content and or a strategy around the type of content you want to create, think about all the different platforms and how are you going to use that content in your social media, on a billboard, in a video, in your PR, within your potential, on your website, all these different places, a blog, a resource center, whatever it might be that you're creating content, and have it work for you instead of constantly going to the drawing board every time you have to do something. And, examples of that, and I know Tom's done similar stuff, but whether it be an ebook or a full brand catalog, if you have multiple brands, things like that people can then take and derive bits and pieces of it. You can take an ebook and break it out into multiple posts on your social media. You can take a brand guide and make a slick for each brand. So things like that tend to be how I see it working.
There you go. I want to go back. It's funny. I know I've seen the Billboard company name that put this one up, and I think it was on I-95, I-195. Do you guys happen to know who owned that billboard? It's right on. If I could see the image.
The Borat billboard?
Yeah, it's like Wildwood or Westwood or something.
Yeah, could it be West? It could be Westwood.
Westwood?
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting because I didn't hear that they were part of this lawsuit either.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't break any laws.
No,
so
they took money from a client and put the image up of the client that the client wanted, and
right. So I don't think they're liable for that. Not that I'm an attorney, right? I mean, obviously everybody's liable for everything when you're involved in something, right?
Right.
But I don't think they have any liability there. I think where they could have liability is if they're breaking a state like CCC law, where they're advertising, because I know that when I'm buying billboards or when I bought billboards, Clear Channel was more careful than I was. I mean, they and this was before anybody was buying billboards for cannabis. So my rep went to every billboard like in the area we wanted, and she herself did like all the circumference measuring for schools and stuff like that. And she came back. I mean, she worked really hard. And she came back and she's like, there's 4 billboards you can buy. And it's these 4. And only 2 are available. So, and she seemed very concerned that we didn't misstep. Where on Borat, I mean, if I want to offend somebody's copyright, I don't think, I think if I tell you I'm going to put Borat on my billboard, you're going to figure that I figured out the ins and outs of that, and it's a safe thing to do.
Right. And Seth, have you had any issues with any clients over the years when you've been in this Cannabis Creative Group that wanted you to do something that you knew was not going to be a good idea for them?
Probably something that I wanted to do.
I mean, it's one of those things where, we have clients that want to push the envelope often, working with a blunt wrap company and some of their social media posts, trying to tame them down because, not to say sex sells sometimes, but that was the push they were going for when we came in, and, it was going a little bit too far. So you have to find that balance of, hey, do we want to create this as a professional brand and have that kind of feel in the market, but still have some subtleties to it? And they did a good job kind of shifting their gears from there. So that was a challenge, and always is in marketing, how to utilize certain tools. With that in mind, no, I mean, for the most part, when somebody wants to do something that's blatantly stupid, it's fairly quick to say, hey, that makes, that's a little too far. And obviously in my space and the digital world, a lot of it comes down to understanding the regulations of the platforms. So the use of certain words, whether it be cannabis, weed, marijuana, THC, things like that. And every platform, Facebook, Instagram, Google, they're all different. So, we kind of have to stay within that as well. So there are restraints. But if you know those kind of regulations, you can maneuver your way through and do some good advertising, and it all works together. I mean, again, content strategy at the top, and then however you filter it down with whatever budget you have. I mean, if you have the budget to do high power videos and utilize them properly, great. If you don't, if you can't afford that billboard on 93, there are other ways to move your content. However, it does reinforce. So, going back to topic, billboards do work.
Right.
Jimmy, just to build on something Tom mentioned, actually, the company that owns that billboard is a local company. I think they probably own about 12 billboards that are out of Shrewsbury, Murray Outdoor Communications. So obviously you go to a large company that's got national billboards, they probably have a huge legal team and lots of due diligence. And that could be one of the factors how nobody checked to see whether the advertiser actually had the licensing rights to the images they were putting up there.
You said that was Murray?
Murray Outdoor Communications.
All right.
Yep.
Do you know them, Tom?
Never heard of them. And it's funny,
Seth?
you mentioned that. I did Google it while we were talking. I was like, who's Murray? I expected to see Outfront or somebody, but nothing against them. I don't know that group.
Yep. Founded in 1988, and it's a small New England company with billboards.
There you go. I'd be remiss if I did not get your reaction, Seth and Tom, to the U.S. Senator bill that was filed on Wednesday, 163 document that is designed to be a public discussion document. And they are asking the public and the business community for their feedback on the various items that are in this 163-page document. I'm going out on a limb thinking that neither one of you has looked at this at all. You tell me I'm wrong, but Seth, have you, what's your reaction when you see something like that happening at the federal level? Does that make you feel like, wow, we're really getting close to getting rid of the stigma? We're moving in the right direction. What's your feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had time to read over the last 36 hours, so I got some catch up. I had golf league, and again was supposed to be out there today, but you texted me to do this, so here I am. No,
thank you for your dedication.
It's all good. The thunderstorms just rolled through, so I still got time to sneak in 9 later. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, anytime there's any movement, and that's how I feel about all of this, whether it's in the CBD space. Whether it's Delta 8, whether it's THC based, but anytime there's any movement at the Washington DC level and not at the state level, I mean, I think the states have kind of figured it out. There's still a few that we all think are a little bit behind, but they'll catch up, I believe, at least from the medicinal standpoint, sooner than later. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, anytime there's any movement, that's positive. And I think we're going to continue to see proactive movement in the right direction from, the federal government as we go forward.
Tom, what was your reaction to the legislation, at least that they're filing? I'm sure you're echoing a lot of Seth's ideas and comments there too.
Well, I've read every word of it.
Just that was in your spare time after you asked everybody for an ID as they drove by your billboard.
No, he's making me look horrible. Oh,
no, I took JFK speed reading course. I didn't. I actually didn't even know it was there. But I mean, I heard about it, but I had not read it. So I mean, let's face it. Cannabis was vilified for reasons, creating the war on drugs, and that's just falling apart at this point. Anybody that knows anything about cannabis realizes that it's actually a miraculous plant. It heals, it makes people feel better, and it's a lot safer than this beer I'm drinking right now. So we know that the dominoes are really starting to fall, and it's just a matter of time for this whole thing to normalize. Hopefully, it'll be happening faster than slower, but I got to imagine in 10 years, it's going to feel a lot like, the beer industry, or any other industry where you have some giants, you have some middle craft players. You got the Sam Adams was actually really not even a craft player anymore, but you've got that middle ground, and then you've got all the fun micros. I really look forward to the day that that's happening, and it doesn't feel to me like it's that far off.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's politics involved, which is my least favorite topic. And we've got the Democrats in right now, which is a hell of a lot more likely to go pro on cannabis than the Republicans. Hopefully we'll get 2 terms out of the Democrats, so that because it's going to take a little bit of time. And sometimes I wonder if they're going to make a big move like this in their first administration, because they can do all the stuff they want in their second administration. Particularly, although Joe Biden will likely not have a second administration, but I think it's happening. It's just a matter of time and normalized, and we're all going to just be looking back at this. It's like, remember the days when Prohibition ended?
Right.
Wasn't that weird?
That's right.
Everybody was fighting and swearing at each other. It's like,
Right.
now
I want to ask, this will be my last question for both of you guys. It's a challenge that we face in the cannabis industry on a somewhat regular basis whenever we push something out to the public, whether it's a promotion or a story or a contest. There really are 2 distinct markets for cannabis. The fastest growing demographic, which is the 50 plus demographic, and then that 21 to 34-year-old party group of young people that, gosh, I wish I was 21 again. Seth, how do you figure out which message? Can you get them both, or do you have to change your message for each demographic group?
No, I mean, you can get both demographics, and, not to go too far back, but to finish off that last thought on the last question, as Tom was talking, I was thinking about how just last week during the All-Star game or the NBA Finals, I saw the Nike's new updated commercial, how they always have a special segment, and they really highlighted right at the end that runner that got banned from Tokyo, Richardson, I believe is her name.
Sha'Carri Richardson, 100-meter women's sprinter.
Yep. So it was good to see that Nike jumped all over that, and they were like, this woman can't go and compete, but we're going to put her right on the face of this ad of a main corporation, basically supporting that what she did wasn't wrong and was good for, is okay. It wasn't a performance enhancer, at least in that case. So, just kind of bringing that thought home. When I saw that, it really struck a chord. And it was subtle. It was simple and subtle. They did nothing wrong. She wasn't smoking a joint when she was running there, but it symbolizes that they stand by her, as a person and for what she's doing. So to me, that was important. But no, hitting demographics is the same as any other marketing effort, whether you're marketing olive oil, razor scooters, or cannabis. You want to know who you're targeting, how you're going to target them. And obviously in different areas, we have clients in college towns, whether it be Fayetteville, do I say that right? Down south. We have clients we have in Denver, clients here in Boston. So when you're in college hotbeds, it's definitely a different marketing, whether it be the brand or the messaging is a little bit different than some of the rural or suburban areas, where especially the affluent suburban areas where it's more expensive. So you don't necessarily have a younger audience. It's more family oriented. So for us, it's understanding, and that goes for any business we're going to market, your customer avatar, and then figuring out from there, how do you attack it? But the one synergy is professionalism. I mean, at the end of the day, if it looks professional and it's done right, no matter what market you're going towards, you don't want to pigeonhole another one. You don't want to come out with something that somebody in a different market can at least relate to or is going to be turned off by. It might target one versus the other, but if they're in that market, if they live in Burlington, Vermont, for example, they know they're in a college market. They're going to expect that type of marketing versus some other markets. So anyway, that's my take on it. I'll turn it over to Tom, see what his thoughts are.
And Tom, go ahead. You got 30 seconds to wrap it up, and then I'm going to say
Oh
goodbye.
boy.
Okay, I'll give you my apple pie theory. Maybe because I'm lazy and maybe because I don't have a lot of money to market all the segments on a mark to, but I look at it as like apple pie. If I show an apple pie to a little kid, to a grandma, to a young person, to everybody loves apple pie. And if you do it in such a way that you're really talking to everybody, you can really save a lot of hair pulling and get to people about the product itself. And I could go on and on. I've got a few other nuances, but I know that I'm out of time.
Yeah, and you have to go somewhere at 6, and I don't want to keep you over. So I just want to thank Tom and Rev Clinics for their support over the years. The #1 medical dispensary in Massachusetts. It's really the only one I try to go to on a regular basis. So
I think we're the only one left.
I'm actually one of their biggest customers, Jimmy. I was just there yesterday, so it's all good.
Well, as you know, their wholesale division is all over the state. You could go to just about any adult use dispensary in Massachusetts and find Rev Clinics stuff, if you will, the Black Mamba strain, for instance, or something like that. So you could certainly visit the local dispensary in your town. Seth, how do people get to Cannabis Creative Group?
At Cannabis Creative or cannabiscreativegroup.com. Check us out. Feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions. We got a full staff, and as virtual as they've been, they're starting to come back in and travel a little bit. So the world is good and life is good. Thanks for having us, Jimmy. Always good to see you.
Nice to see you too. Hit him straight, Seth. For David Rabinovitz, thank you again for being my sidekick, being there. And actually, I got to tell you, your history of Timothy Leary was the best part of this show. I
don't think so, Jimmy, but thank you.
All right. So
All
for
right.
everybody here at Pro Cannabis Media, remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
A banking bill deals with a small part of this, but not what needs to be done. We need a broad, comprehensive bill.
Can I just say something on that?
Go ahead.
I'm telling you right now, if somebody tries in the Senate to do just a banking bill, they're going to make all the wealth and the money that is going after this already is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But what could become a even bigger industry, to just do it so some people can get rich and not do something about the people who are languishing with criminal convictions, not do something on restorative justice, not do something to make sure that the business opportunities are created are fairly given a fair playing field, where right now in many states, someone who has a criminal conviction for selling marijuana can't get a license now. I don't know about other members of the Senate, but I will lay myself down to do everything I can to stop an easy banking bill that's going to allow all these corporations to make a lot more money off of this, as opposed to focusing on the restorative justice aspects.